Alrighty, got all four of the outer pieces done, and now I'm going to start on the inner. Now I'm going to do this in two pieces. I think it's just going to work out better that way. Alright, so it's going to come from here, up there, out there, and then up there. So at the moment I'm just going to do from here halfway across, basically from there down to just below here. Now I'm going to try something different. I've just quickly threw that in the folder and done half that fold, so it will be sitting basically like that. Oh, there we go. Don't damage the camera. It's a bit over halfway of what it has to come out horizontally. Now, what my thought is that I'm going to see if I can put that curve, so the gutter curve, in this way, just using a shrinker for the lower section. And then see if I can do that to save tipping that whole thing. So I'm going to risk this piece. Hopefully I don't waste it. And then once I've got that curve, I can then go and cut the window curve into it and do it that way and just see if that works. I'm hoping with the new shrinker that normally I can't shrink something that's nearly 3 inches wide, as in from here to there. So we'll see, and I can't narrow it off by putting that second curve in until this one is in, otherwise it will just keep making that one tighter. So we'll see how we go. There's a little bit of a curve in there that's just left over from the last cut, and it doesn't so it is not influential to what I'm doing because it's going to be recut anyway. Alright, wish me luck. Alrighty, well that didn't take long, probably, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. So what I did is I used the shrinker on here, went up and down full depth along this edge, about 3 passes, and then 2 passes with the other shrinker over there, and then 1 pass there. And as you can see, it now follows that curve beautifully all the way along. I had to stretch this edge a little bit because even because of putting it on a curve, it made it bow this way, that way, sorry. And so stretching this edge here, straighten it back out again. So now what I hope is that I don't lose too much shape, or none at all of course, when I cut this bottom radius in for the window opening. If that, because I can come back in and shrink it back in again, but I've got to make sure that that window edge then doesn't end up too steep compared to that. So it's still a bit of a gamble. We'll just have to wait and see what the result is. Hopefully by shrinking all the way across to all the way in there, even with the bulk of this shrinking gone, there's enough left here in whatever's left to hold the shape. I guess I'm about to find out. Alright, so what were the results? So this is my window line template, and I scribed the curve. I had to know exactly what distance from the top of the flange to here, over an exact distance to know where to place this curve in and out from this flange. I couldn't just go off the end because some of that's trimmed away, so I had to measure exactly from the centre of the, so in this case the B pillar, back to where the vertical door opening comes up, measure that width on the vehicle itself, what's already established, and do the same at the C pillar, and then I could know where the template sat, and so that's it there. So the test was, after cutting and doing this gradual depth shrinking, how much did I lose or gain or nothing at all? And there you go, look at that, no change. So that means I've done the right amount. If I'd only shrunk on the edge and then you cut most of that away, with that shape, it would have straightened out some. All right, quick notch, and beautifully lines up with that point there. That's where the outer piece, well, the mirror image of that one, bevels in. So they will be spot welded together right along that flange there, and this one comes in right down there, and this will be made flush both ends, so at the top of the pillar, and so this will then go across and then back up again once I complete the top half. But I think I'll just do the bottom halves, but it's the end of the day, who knows what tomorrow will bring. But I'm definitely at least cutting the opposite side one out. I don't know if I can put that extra curve that this front side has in the front corner. It'll be interesting to see. You definitely be testing the shrinker capabilities. Well, I'm not surprised, but I found the limits of using the shrinker over this width. So the width is the same as on the rear, but this curve, when it gets to about here, suddenly gets really steep. And I've gone with that shrinker and the other one back and forth, back and forth. You can really see it here. I mean, I've lost count how many times I've been up and back, and it's not progressing. You can see here how much it still has to go, which is massive. I just wanted to give it a try. It's what I expected. I'd done a few little tests when I first got the new shrinker to see how much can you achieve, and you definitely cannot achieve that. So either I start from scratch and tip like that, and then which is what I'd originally intended. I just thought, oh, a bit of enthusiasm, let's just see how far we can push it. The other thought is something this is something I made more than 10 years ago, and I think it's got too much flex in it. But you would have seen tucking forks. They're usually made from two long centre punches or nail punches, doesn't matter. And you weld them, and what you do is you create a tuck. So you push it one way, push the other way, and then you've got to lock the end of it and then hammer that down, and you can get tucks. I made this version up. You can actually push this button in and you can adjust the angle of it. This obviously gives you the most leverage. But I've also seen people put those other tucking forks, which they usually make into a T shape, so two prongs, and each prong is getting gradually wider to create a V-shaped tuck, which is what we're doing with the shrinker. We're just doing it in miniature. That's why you always do more passes on the edge than you do right in deep, because you're trying to make little wedges or little tucks all the way along. It's just that you're doing a myriad of them here. I might have a play. This end I can't use it anyway, so maybe I'll have a bit of a play with this. I've had a few goes at it probably 10 years ago, and I haven't tried it since. Alright, so just put in 3 tucks. I should have measured this beforehand, because I could at least see I think it's pulled in more, but it's at 35mm now, which is what, 1 3/8 or something. So I think I need to come back further and try, but otherwise what I'll possibly do, you can see the 3 tucks here. I haven't fully plunged them flat because, well, part of the reason is you're trying to capture that material and then basically implode it on itself, so it gets thicker. So it gets harder and harder to put. You've got to always do them in between, and it's a better curve when you do them in between. So I might see if I can get give it a few more tries, but otherwise what I'll just simply do is cut this back, remove this section, put this in the shrinker, pull it over tight, and then weld this piece back on again after I've made it match that curve. That's probably the easiest way to continue to use this piece of metal rather than starting from scratch and just tipping the whole thing on the wheel, which I'll do for the other side. But I thought it was interesting. I'll do another say tuck in between there, another 3 or 4, see if it's changing, if my technique's just so bad, or the tool, I might got to make a new tool, if it's worthwhile. But it always does leave a lot of, that's why I don't use it as much. You can always tell where tucks have become, doesn't matter how much you clean it up sort of later. In this case it doesn't matter, because one face is covered by the outer piece and the inside is going to be covered by upholstery, so you'll never ever see this. So from the appearance point of view, it's not a concern, and why not learn a little bit more on the tucking in the meantime. So I might even see if I can get some footage of attempting my tucks, and then people can tell me what I'm doing wrong. All right. So I'm no machinist, but so I put a 2.5 degree taper on that, just from the pictures I've seen. So don't forget, I'm no expert at all on this sort of thing. It looked right to me, and I wanted that amount of length because I couldn't find any centre punches or nail punches that had that amount of taper that I'd seen other people use. So you've got to set this apart. I think most people put it around a bit over material thickness that you're most likely going to use. So you can slide it in and out easy. You don't want it too tight. I've had to open this one up just to make it worth, and that looks like about 3mm 1/8. So I'll measure it to check, because what the problems with this one was that I couldn't get up to the jaws without it running into this hinge part here, and also I feel these are too flexible. So I'm going conventional of what other people use. Don't forget, no authority at all. And so these will get I'll put a piece of metal in between, so they're evenly spaced on the taper, and then you put another bar across so you can grab it or put it in the vise and then move your material one side to the other. So that'll be the next step. Right, I've got some 2mm steel at the middle. What's that? 14 gauge? Something like that. Sorry. I live in a metric country. So to keep these parallel, I've seen people use 3mm or even 1/8, but I do notice that they have to twist a long way. I'm hoping that 2mm do, and that's similar to the gap I've got there on that one, and that seems to work well as far as inserting it and then twisting it one way, taking it out, twisting it the other way. So we've got the rounded ends as well, and I've got another bolt, so it's 3 head bolts down now, which I'll make with a handle. I just cut the head off and rounded off the ends, took the thread down a little bit and put a little bend in it just so it sits more comfortable in the hand, and that'll get welded. So I'll fill this with weld and put that over the end and see what we've got. Oh, there you go, all welded up. I did notice it was trying, as this is shrinking, as you would expect, it's pulling these closer and those further apart. So while it was still hot, I just quickly nipped the ends in a vise. So while it was cooling, it ended up back to reasonably parallel. I think, yeah, it's pretty good. I can always try and force it a bit more if that's a problem. I have no idea of the flexibility that this will have, but it doesn't look any different than what everyone else makes. This is grade 8, no, I think head studs are grade 8 or grade 9, so at least decent material. I would have probably used surface hardening, and then of course that would have been lost. But yeah, 3 head stud bolts and got ourselves a fork. Next to see if it works. Alright, I don't know how I sound because I've got my earplugs in. So you can see I've done 3 tucks so far, and I'll do 1 more. I'm still learning the technique. As I said, I'm no authority. So the bottom one is what ends up being the pivot point, depending on what direction you go. So give it a good hard turn, roll that top one over to the opposite side, bottom one's still in the same spot, turn the other way. Now you can see the tucks. That one is definitely better. This one is the area where I've done those other tucks with the other tool I earlier made. So it's getting thicker here. I don't know if I can tighten this one up, because you want you want a triangular shape. So don't know if I can improve upon it. Don't know if it's technique, tool or whatever, although the tool's correct, it's probably me. So next would be to close those out. I don't know if I can keep it going to show that. See different techniques, different hammers used. Let's see, going for a walk. I haven't used the tripod very much. I have no idea how this is going to show up. So what the general consensus is to close the end of the tuck first. Just point in. Variation. Some say you hammer in from both sides and create a ridge, where others just hammer down from this point. So you've captured the most at the point by closing that out first. Honestly, I don't know which way is going to work best. And I don't know if I'm going to get in the way of the camera because the bin's getting in the way. Let's see if I can move this stump somewhere a bit more practical. Let's see, how does that go? No idea. Not a YouTuber, I'm a fabricator, remember? So moving in from both sides. Got a measurement to go off at this time at least, so we'll have an idea. And by the way, This is what the hammer I look like. It's from Peter Tomasini, hand-built tools. I think it's one of their punching hammers. I want a bit of weight to it because you're dealing with a bit of thickness here. This is also 1.2 mil. This always reminds me of the ruffles you see around a cupcake paper form before you drop it in the mold. Running together. So the wood helps sort of trap the metal, and yours really want one surface or the other. Either use a nylon hammer or a timber or nylon base, so otherwise you end up stretching it. So you want one or the other, or both, flexible, so it's not going to stretch. The loose shape, you punch it out. That's where you can get it up in there. Experimentation. It's a pretty a good English wheel, but of course the more you plenish it, you could run the risk of stretching that back out again. You want to leave it thicker, but it's a bit of an oxymoron. I'm new at this, I'm trying not to talk and hammer at the same time. Let's get it reasonably flat so we can do a comparison. So you can see it's curved that way a bit, but stretching this edge will help stretch that back out. You can see it's gathered itself up. But let's go and do a measurement anyway and see what it is. You can see why I don't normally use a tripod in this tiny workshop. Let's see if it's worthwhile. It was 35 before. Now we've got 25, so that's taking 10 mil out. It's a little hard to tell because it's rocking here a little bit. Honestly, for the finish it gives, I know I'm only a beginner at tuck shrinking, get you out of trouble, but I think it's far neater to trim, say, about half it off, stick it in the shrinker, get the curve exactly how you want, and then weld that back in again. But on the other side, I think I'll just tip it on the curve and then fix the warpage it's going to cause. So, oh well, good experimentation. At least I can say I've tried it. Well, I thought I'd do my trim, and I thought I'll flatten it out a bit more using the shrinkers, the kick shrinkers, to help flatten this out. So rather than planishing it, which would have had the possibility of re-stretching it, I just got in with the deep shrinker there and shrunk all the way along there, and now it's down to just over half an inch. As you can see, it follows the line all the way now. It doesn't rock on here anymore. I just went in with the shrinkers and got rid of that, put more shrink in that spot there. So really, I almost made it, and what I'll do is I'll just cut a section out of here and then shrink this last bit, unless I'm very determined and try a few more deep tucks. It's more experimental at this stage. It's just a bit of fun. And because this won't be seen, it's only there for structural strength, it's probably good enough in the surface. I mean, it's quite thick now. I haven't measured it, but it'll be interesting, wouldn't it? We'll see. It's going to be a little hard. So it's 1.2 where the metal started as 18 gauge. Let's take a sort of a random, hasn't changed very much. So we've got 1.3, yeah, it's 1.35, something like that mil now. So certainly could grind that down, sand that down a bit. The backside's a lot better, the side that didn't have the tucks put on it. So that's something to think about if it is something that you're going to see, is the side that you pucker up, put that on the side you can't see. Because look at that, that's a lot smoother finish through there. So yeah, I'm still undecided how I'll finish this off. I'm just using this as a play piece now. I'd actually put it away and thought, no, I'm going to start from scratch. And then took it back out a minute later and thought, oh, I'll play with it a bit more. That's the way you learn. Not what I normally do, but I just cut back a bit and just bent it out of the way. I thought, well, this has got so many creases in it anyway, what's one more? And then could put it in this kick shrinker and then also the other one, and just got in there, did the last bit, and as you can see now, it follows the line perfectly. So I'll have to shrink this as well so it follows this curve, but this flat piece is also half depth now, so it's 35 mil, or 70 mil across here, which is just under 3 inch, and I just cut it in half depth wise. And had no problem at all pulling that around. So yeah, I definitely won't be doing the other side this way, but I think I can resurrect this one well enough for its purpose. And I've learnt a lot, that's the main thing. Sayonara. Just bent it back down again. You can look how much it overlapped. So I'll put the shrinker on now around this edge and see if I can bring that around until it follows. Hopefully that works around, otherwise I'll just cut it off and make a little piece to go in there. No big deal. There you go, went fairly easily, just shrunk a little bit more on this edge. I've also actually took the shrinking back a bit further because this needs to be basically cut vertically through there. So this end has to go past. I left enough length. You can see that. I'm going to bring this point here to the end of the template because that represents vertical. Oops, hang on. On there, on there, there you go there. So I'll just weld that up and call it a education. The fun is in learning. Didn't you always hear that in school? Okie dokie. So, all trimmed up. This one doesn't go all the way to the as far forward as the outside because it just stops where the pinch weld is just after that, because there's going to be a big header that will go from one side of the windscreen to the other. So this shows you what it's like after cleanup, and I'm going to line it up with this mark here, which is the middle of the B pillar, and you can see there that it kept its shape after cutting. There's only a couple of tiny spots here. I just had to crimp it a little bit after the fact, and that's about it. So yeah, that one's done. So that gets me another one down. So one to go before the top half of this Z shape can be made. So don't forget, this is the inside upper support that goes between the pillars, and this will go above the pillars to go closer to the top of the roof cap or roof skin. So there you go. Now the other one I will template off this, and I'll just tip it in that roller, and then because you've got an exposed edge here, that bow that the roller will put in, I can correct in the shrinker stretcher along that edge there and fix it. So this was more of an experiment than anything else to test the capacity of the new shrinker stretcher combined still with this old one here, and then even needing to use it and make a tucking fork to get there in the end. But honestly, I don't think it's worth the time and effort, and the overall finish is, well, it's not bad, but I think it will do better once I just tip of the roller and straighten that edge out. But I wanted to try it out, so you don't learn if you don't experiment. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. So awesome. Oh, I'm going to show to you how it fits after all this. It's not much to see from this side, but this here on the opposite side will go to the end of where that little reveal step is for the pinch weld, so that it sits. Hang on, let me see if I can balance this in place. It sits there. There you go. Tucks in there, which, remember, this bottom curve here matches that of the window opening, and this top radius here matches that of the gutter. Even though that's on the inside, it will still flow with the door opening, so it will make sense. So the next piece will be above that. All right, another step forward. You beauty. Just quickly threw a clamp on there, so it might be easier to see what it will look like from when you're sitting in the passenger side. So the bottom arch there will cover the back of the door frame, and there'll be the seal pushing against that, and this will flow down, so the upholstery will come down, arch down to the top of that, and then follow that down to the windscreen frame, which will go there. If you continue that arc all the way to the front, that gives you an idea of how low the windscreen glass is. So that's the difference. All right, sayonara.